Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. I do this every single weekday, and I also do a twice-a-week long-form podcast where I speak to other industry professionals. And, rest assured, you guys, anybody who shows up on any of my content is a transportation professional. You guys, there's no theory on any of my stuff. There's no wannabe thought leaders. We are bringing you information by people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to do as well. So with this, the show, then everything that we do here, you guys, we break down headlines. We provide insight that you can apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. This is my last day here in Las Vegas. I'm going to be flying back this afternoon heading back home to Phoenix. And but what you normally see behind me is that American flag. And I fly that American flag for multiple reasons, but mainly because A, we're the greatest nation on earth, and B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you guys live your American dream as well. But before we get into anything, as always, guys, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. VHubApp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers at some point in time. And with that being said, the best part about what they have is you get paid to move these trailers. So if you're a driver out there and you're looking to add revenue right now with this market change, you get paid to move these trailers. So what they're working on, they have, West Valley City, Utah, going up to Calgary, Alberta. You get $1,550 US to move that. They also have Paragould, Arkansas to Irving, Texas, and you get paid $550 US to move that. And then now, furthermore, if you're out there and you're trying to gain new business, whether you're a broker or a carrier, and you need drop trailer capacity, how do you do that? With VHub, you have that opportunity because they have trailer pools available for you guys. So they have some trailers down in Paragould, Arkansas, needing to get up to Mississauga, Ontario, and you get 1,000 Canadian to do that. And then finally, they have Stoughton, Wisconsin, needing to get over to Milton, Ontario. And again, you get 1,000 Canadian to move that, you guys. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. My friends Xavier Campos and Stacey Steen, they'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor, let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Sanjay Singh says, hi, Chris. And then he also says, I'm looking handsome in orange. I appreciate that. I will never not want to compliment. Drew Driscoll, what is up? He says, Coach, happy Friday. Let's go. Good to see you back here, Drew. Stephen M. Peterson, good morning. Thanks for joining in. Nick Fleming and Chris Jarrett. It says Nick and Chris checking in. Thanks for jumping in with us as always. Sonny Sharma, good fucking morning, orange shirt gang. Sonny, always good to see you in here. Christine Stewart, good morning to you. And then Erica Hamilton says, good morning, happy St. Paddy's Day. Are you wearing any green? Erica, yes, I did wear a green shirt to the gym this morning because, I play into that social norm of everybody's Irish on St. Paddy's Day. But no, I was thinking about keeping the shirt to go live with today, but no, I got to stick with orange. Lewis, what's up? He says, let's go. Nick, for your question, he says, I'm a felon. Is there any way I can possibly know so that has more of like a government thing. If you have a felony, you can't go into Canada like at all, I believe. It might be for a DWI though on with that. Nick, I would look into that and see. I don't know if that's an issue. If you have a valid passport, it depends on what it is, man. But I would look into that a little bit more. That shouldn't stop you from doing that. But it depends on what it was, man. And obviously, I don't want you to air your past out here if you don't want to or anything like that, man. But I would look into it. I think it depends on what it was on that, and if you have a valid passport, I would definitely try and see, man, by all means. And with that being said, with Nick's question, you guys, that he just asked, this is what this show is all designed for. If you have any transportation related questions, drop them in the comments, whether it's on LinkedIn or over on YouTube, which I also stream live over on YouTube as well. You guys, this is what this show is designed for, is to help answer any questions you guys have out there that I can provide some value and insight to you, and all the guests that I have on. Same with them. You guys ask these questions away and I'll answer them live on the show. Or if you don't want to ask them on the show, DM me. I'll answer them for you. But other than that, yeah, let's see here. Jerome Jones, he's watching over on YouTube. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in, Jerome. Yeah, orange is my color at the end of the day. You know, Eric, I got to stick with it. And Xavier Campos says, good morning, hashtag Frank Coach Nation. Charles Richardson says you can go if you get a passport. So yeah, no, that's good to know, and see that there's still some options out there. So I definitely look into it, man. I know it's not. I think that for government loads, you can't do that if you have a felony. And this is just based off of the experience that I've had as a moving government loads, is that if you weren't allowed on any facility if you had one. And he says, Charles Richardson, Nick Fleming, Chris Jarrett asked if you could message them, please, out there about that. Yeah, you guys, I like it. I like seeing everybody who's in the audience helping each other out with this stuff, because, you know, again, you guys, it's really the driving force behind all the content that I put out there. Is just to help others, you know, and ask the questions that we all have. I mean, I have questions all the time, and you should never feel like you can't go somewhere and get a real answer. There's never going to be a paywall behind any of this stuff. You guys, this is what this is for, this network that we're building out, and to get all of that information out there. All right. I want to talk about hitting a roadblock with prospecting. Right now, obviously, there is a lot of stuff going on, right? It's back to needing to put a lot of effort in to earning their attention and earning their business. And then you're going to get to a point where you're going to fill out bids, you're going to get set up, you're going to do all of that, but then you're not going to win any business, right? Like, because you're waiting for that opportunity. And, you know, it's happened to me numerous times, right? Where good conversations, hey, we're bidding on freight, everything's good, but then you don't see that opportunity. And when you're coming in as a brand new provider with a prospect or an active customer, say you're past the prospecting phase, that there is, you know, again, is it's like you're waiting for that opportunity, because it's not going to come in the form of, hey, it's ready to go right now on a Tuesday, first come, first serve shipper. Oh, hey, deliver this when you can. Thursday or Friday is fine. You know, everything's good. And it pays $80 million. Like, it doesn't come in on a silver platter, and you have to be ready, because you're going to put forth a lot of work and a lot of effort to get to that point, right? You're going to put in a lot of information. And then it's that waiting game, right? But how do you add value to somebody in that moment? How do you add value to your prospects and your customers that, you know, say you got them all set up? And to me, you guys, it's like, you need to be present in a way where it's because, like, they know you have trucks, right? Like, if you've talked to them, they've given you their email address. Maybe you've quoted out a couple of lanes for them, or hell, you've even filled out an RFP for them. There's no reason to solicit them in the sense that you were originally, right? Like, oh, hey, I have trucks, or, oh, hey, I can get you a truck tomorrow if you need it. Like, they know that, right? Like, we're past that, but it's that opportunity is going to come. Sometimes it happens right away, right? Like, I've onboarded new shippers here recently where I won multiple shipments right away. And then, okay, boom, I'm back to waiting for that next opportunity. And it is being present. It is being responsive. It is checking in with them in other ways that aren't in the traditional sense of sending that same scripted message. Try and take it as an opportunity to build a relationship with them while you're waiting. Again, what value can you bring? And I like to ask this: put yourselves in your prospect shoes. What information would be valuable to you in those situations, right? And the beauty of a lot of this, you guys, is like, I also talk to shippers a lot on this show. I've released multiple episodes here recently with shippers, and they tell you all of this information in there, right? So take that into consideration as you're continuing to prospect, as you're continuing to develop relationships and you're quoting them out. You might win a couple of shipments and you don't see anything, or you fill out an RFP and then you're just waiting, right? And you have to be ready when they are. You're coming in there, you're going to win their business, you're going to earn their business, and you're going to continue to earn their business. It just doesn't happen on the timeline that you want. But always, what value can you bring to them, no matter what, at any given moment? So that's my little soapbox on you get stuck with a prospect or an active customer. Again, it's always going to boil down to what value and information are you providing to them. Jerome Jones, he says, I have a question. How can a single driver with a carrier get direct customers? Which is a good way to ask when cold calling a shipper here in Ohio? Jerome, do you have a 53-foot trailer? Are you a box truck driver? What kind of equipment are you running, man? If you're still watching live, drop that in the comments. And it doesn't really change my approach to it. And I think regardless, man, I would go and try and introduce myself to as many people as possible in person, right? I'm going to take this as you've already loaded at a couple of facilities, and I would pull up some of the addresses that you've loaded at and look at other 53-foot drive-in he has. I would get in your car or your truck, your personal vehicle, Jerome. I would get some business cards made if you haven't, and I would go around and introduce myself to literally everybody that has a warehouse in your backyard. Wherever you're at in Ohio there, man, I would go and introduce myself to anybody and everybody. You have the truck, you have the trailer. Maybe if you get offloaded near your house, just show up at another facility on that block, man. Like a lot of these areas, the warehouses are all in the exact same area. And I would just go by and introduce myself as many people as possible. But when you're there, it's not just, hey, I have a truck, here's my information. Where do you like to run, Jerome? What areas do you want to run with them consistently? Because that opportunity that you might be looking for might not come in the form that you want, right? Like if you want to run Ohio down to Atlanta, Georgia, for example, their opportunity might be Ohio to Louisville, or it might be local Ohio in whatever city that you're in there. So if you're looking for that consistent business, you have a couple of areas that you like to run and deliver that, but that opportunity that they might have for you might be a local run. And that's a great way to get in the door. If you're cool with doing a couple of same day drops for them, because say you're in Cleveland and that shipper's located in Cleveland, they might have a couple of loads that are local Cleveland every single day. That might be an opportunity for you for when you're waiting for, because you just put in his comments, he likes to run to the Midwest area. That might be when you're waiting for another Midwest load to go, that you can stay busy during your off days, right? So you're just running, local Cleveland runs, and then until that load comes available. But I would have a couple of options, Jerome, for them. If you like to run Midwest, cool. Also offer to do local and short haul freight for them, because most shippers, that's their biggest issue, because a lot of the large companies, not everybody, I try and not catch myself in there, but a lot of large companies don't want local freight, right? They don't want the 200-mile runs or less. They don't want to stay local. That's where the real opportunities lie for you, man. And if you're cool with staying, local Cleveland, for example, just for a talking piece, as you develop that relationship, man, I'd do that. And you might find that it's a lot more lucrative to stay in that city, man. It might be a lot more lucrative where, whatever your number is you want to hit every day. Say you want to hit $1,000 a day, man, you might be able to do 3 runs and get close to that. So yeah, man, I would definitely take that approach. I hope that answered your question. Nick Fleming says, good question, Jerome. And that goes to that with everything. Caleb, dude, if that's your real last name, Countryman, I love it. Caleb, he says, how do you overcome the objection of I don't work with brokers? This is a very, very, very common question or objection that you're going to get with. And I get this all the time. I don't shy behind the fact that I am a broker, right? Like I don't try and go in there and ever say I'm asset light or anything like that. Like, no, I am a pure third-party freight broker. That is all I do. When I'm hit with that objection of why don't I work with brokers, or like, I don't work with brokers, I just kindly ask why. I'm like, but I want to be able to work through that objection. I don't want to be like, all right, cool, have a great day. I want to find out the why behind it. Is it because most brokers are notorious for just taking freight, throwing it on a load board, failing on that load, and then giving it back to them last minute? And then explain to them how you don't operate that way. I don't take freight that I know I can't cover, right? I don't do that. I don't put my customers or my prospects in that position. And say I'm in that position where, you know what, I failed on a load, because it happens, right? I will have an option for them of somebody else to reach out to that can accommodate that. I want to be able to give them any and all options. But again, I personally feel like, Caleb, if you're getting them with an objection, there's an opportunity there. It's just not today, right? They don't want to work with brokers today. Okay, perfect. Because the overwhelming majority of shippers that I talk to do work with brokers, and they love working with brokers, but they don't want to fall into the typical traps of what brokers are notorious for doing. And I think if you utilize that, if you study that, you can help work your way through that and turn it into an opportunity. It's just going to take a lot of time, man. And again, I tie it all back down to that niche. If I'm working in a niche, which I am, I'm all about open deck and heavy haul, building materials, equipment. That's what I run. I'm going to talk to them about that, because I know that there's an underlying factor there. It's a lot of it just to do with the seasonality of it, or, I don't have enough freight for the carriers that I have right now. Perfect. I'm not asking for everything today, but let's work through this. So I hope that helps out, man. Charles Richardson says, I've been in trucking for 25 years. I started a broker 2 years ago. I paid $2,000 for a course and no customer yet. Charles, what's your biggest question, man? I know that's kind of an open-ended question there, brother. What do you feel like is your biggest obstacle right now? And I'll answer that for you. And then also, man, where are you located at, and what freight do you like to haul? Jerome says, thank you for answering my question. Anytime, Jerome. As always, you guys ask us, dude, I'll answer questions for the entire 30 minutes. We don't have to break down any articles. I will literally answer these questions for all 30 minutes of this show. Timothy Serrano says, how do you overcome the DM never available, but the only person that makes these decisions? Timothy, is your question, how do you overcome the objection is the person who can onboard you is never available at all anytime that you reach out to them? Is that what your question is? Because I think that for me personally, man, it's because you're probably calling at the exact same time and you're sending the same automated message. I address every single one of my prospects by name the entire time. I address them by name and I personalize that message. I don't send a generic DM or a generic email to anyone at all. It is very personalized and direct. It's not that they're not available. They're just not available when you're reaching out to them. Change up the time of day that you're calling. If you're always calling at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, change it up. They might have a weekly staff meeting during that time. Go in there and get creative with how you're reaching out, and stop sending generic messages if that's what you're doing. Again, I don't know if that's what you're doing, but I'm just saying that as a statement. Don't send any direct generic messages. All right, Charles says that he is in Ohio and van. So Charles, if your experience is in dry van, if you've been in the industry for 25 years and that's what you've hauled, again, man, I'm going to want to own my own backyard. It's all about that specialization, man. Because and I just talked about this. If you guys want some further insight on this, my podcast that I released this morning with Nicole Glenn over on iTunes and Spotify, we talked about this exact scenario, because shippers don't want to work with brokers that can do everything, right? That don't have like a reason, a why behind the reach out, right? Like, again, I specialize in open deck and heavy haul. I'm only going to shippers, and my prospects move stuff on flatbeds, RGNs, step decks, Conestogas, stuff like that. That's all I go after. Do they move dry van freight occasionally? Yes, they do. Is a percentage of their freight on a dry van? Yeah, because they're kind of intertwined at times. But when I'm reaching out to them, it's all about the specialization to me. This is all I do. I do this well. I don't play the markets. I don't play the, I'm just going to shift to you when there's another commodity that's running hot. My specialization is open deck and heavy haul, and this is all I do because I know the intricacies of those shipments, right? It's not about having access to trucks because you better if you're a broker. It's not always about I can save you 20% because we don't even know what they're paying right now. So how can we go in there and say that we can save them money when we don't know what it is that they're paying? So for me, man, it's about the intricacies of the load. I know everything that is required to move a shipment. That's a excavator, for example. I know literally everything that's required of that. And that's what I sell on when I'm reaching out to my prospects. Say it's a load of building materials, for example. I know everything that is required about that. I know their product just as good as they do. They don't have to worry about it when Freight Coach Logistics reaches out to them because that's all tied into my pitch. That's all tied into my outreach emails that I send to them. That's what the verbiage says. It's not basic. It's not generic. It is very much centered around their organization. Again, research your prospects, you guys. Everything that you want to know about your prospects is online right now. Their website, LinkedIn, everything, it all tells a story. And we need to be there to ensure that we're prepared when we're reaching out, even in a cold outreach. The first time you're reaching out to them, you need to know everything about them. Like when I call people, I know I do like a little profile about all of them. I take my time. This is why I hate the high call volume KPI that's out there, is because like if you're reaching out to 100 people for the sake of reaching out to 100 people, go right ahead, because I'm reaching out to about 25 to 30 people a day, and I know everything about those organizations before I reach out to them. I'm not going in there blind. I'm not calling them to find out about their operation. I have a very solid grasp about what it is that they do, where their distribution network is located, what their products are, what's going to be required of that. So when we are talking, it's very much about operationally focused. So I hope that helps out, man. I'm sorry you took a course and wasted all that money on that. But I think with where you are right now, Charles, own your backyard. And I know I was saying that to Jerome as well. Own your backyard, man. Go out there, introduce yourself to people in person, reach out to people who are local. And again, man, know your specialization, know the areas you like to run, and go in there and be very direct about why you're reaching out to them. Man, I think you're going to have a big difference out there. And again, break down the cold calls. If you are making cold calls, break them down into digestible bites, right? Like practice this stuff. The first part is always going to be that introduction, right? Introduce yourself and your company name. Just work on that. Hey, because for me, it's, hey, my name is Chris Jolly and I'm with Freight Coach Logistics. Repeat that time and time again, man. So when you are making the calls, it's fluid, right? I'm reaching out to you today because of X, and then just work through and break down that into a couple of parts so you become more and more fluid in your approach. And, and remember, the confidence that you're searching for comes through repetition. All right. The confidence that we search for in our cold calls comes through repetition. You have to make mistakes on the calls. All right. You're going to get hung up on, but you're also going to learn and adapt and become more and more efficient with that. So look at it and take it from that perspective. Let's see. Rick Wooten in the house. Good morning, all. He says Nevada Trucking and Trails says morning. They're watching over on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Christine Stewart says, I'm having problems getting drayage freight. I've been doing quotes, talking to brokers and shippers. I haven't received the freight. What am I doing wrong? Christine, are you a broker yourself? Do you own trucks and assets? Can you drop that in the chat, please? And then I can answer this. As soon as she gets to that. Now, I like this, you guys. And again, I'll dedicate these shows to always doing Q&A like this to help you guys out in your business. Because again, I'm going through all of this with you guys, right? Like I'm out there. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been a broker now for 12 plus years at this point. And I'm building my brokerage right now. So I'm literally in the trenches with you guys, going through all of this stuff day in and day out. All right. Like this isn't a theory for me. I've been doing this for a long time and I'm here to help. in any way I can. I go live every single weekday. I usually break down industry headlines, but if there's questions that you guys have, as always, drop them in the chat. I'll answer them live on the show. Or if you're watching this on replay over on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, on iTunes and Spotify, it's under the Coffee with the Freight Coach umbrella. And what you need to do is answer those DMs, or just shoot me some DMs and stuff after the fact, and I'll answer them on the following morning. And again, if you guys do go to those other platforms, do your boy a solid. Subscribe and share over there, you guys. That's how we are the top rated transportation podcast, is because of each and every one of you guys sharing this out to your networks. Because if you guys see value, your network's going to see value as well. All right, you're a dispatcher. I have carriers with trucks. All right, so when you say you're so you're quoting brokers in this situation, because if you're quoting shippers, Christine, as a dispatcher, you need to look into that from a legal perspective, because you're not allowed to do that. There's legislation currently out there on Capitol Hill about that in particular. But if you're talking about quoting out brokers in this instance, so I'm going to answer this based off of the fact that you are quoting out brokers who are coming to you for pricing on drayage freight. At this point in time, brokers are possibly using you for a quoting tool, is what it seems like. They don't actually have the freight from their customers. They're not forthcoming with you, and they're telling you this to get rates out of you so they can quote their customer. I would ask them, the next time somebody reaches out to you about drayage moves, and if you are quoting out a broker for this, Christine, you need to ask them, when are these containers ready to go right now? When are these containers going to dock? When are they going to be there? Again, ask more and more questions to the broker, because again, I've never moved a shipment that I actually had and didn't have a bill of lading. I didn't have a commodity. I didn't have a possible ship date. I didn't have appointment times or pickup hours or receiving hours or anything like that. All right. So you need to vet the people that you're working with, because I feel like in this situation in particular, Christine, they are using you for a quoting tool, and they're bidding out their customers based off of that. Or they're using your rate, and then they're trying to drive down that price. So say you quoted somebody $500, all right? And at $500, just an example here, please don't hold me to this, all right? Then they might be going out there and trying to find somebody who can move it for $450 and stuff like that. So again, if you press them a little bit more, and my brokers, I have no problem with people asking us questions, because I actually have the freight that we're moving. All right. So I would do that, Christine. I hope that helps. Caleb says, ironically, after you answered my question, I got hit with that objection, overcame it in some lanes to quote. Man knows his freight. Thank you, Chris. Dude, that's what's up right there, man. Caleb, I'm glad that worked out for you. It does kind of look like I talk a lot of shit sometimes, and I do. I'm not going to hide behind that. But I'm, again, you guys, I've actually done this job that I'm talking about. I do this job that I'm talking about currently. Okay. So again, on any of my stuff, you guys, there's no theory here. All right. This is brought to you by transportation professionals for transportation professionals. All right. And, and what Charles Richardson was talking about earlier about these courses that these people are offering, it fucking drives me nuts. The shitty information that people put out there. If you're in the dispatcher, owner, operator world, the only person you need to be talking to is Adam Wingfield with Innovative Logistics. He is the man when it comes out there. And speaking to him, I'm going to try and he's a good friend of mine. I'm going to try and get him on next week so we can talk about this. And when it comes down to brokerage information, you guys, there is so much quality free information out there. I got over 500 episodes of my podcast out there for you guys to check out on iTunes and Spotify. I have hundreds and hundreds of videos on sales and operations strategy that I put out there every single day over on YouTube. All right. There's a ton of free information. Trucking for Millennials podcast, hit them up. All right. They have great information. Freight 360, hit them up. They have great information on their podcast as well. And there's a bunch of them who have great transportation podcasts, you guys. JOC, I've talked to them. DAT puts out a great blog. Trucker Tools puts out great information. There's a lot of good. Truckstop.com puts out a lot of great information. there's a lot of free information out there, you guys. You just have to find it with that. So let's see. I usually have a dollar amount, say $3 a mile. Then I just tack on 12% when quoting a lane, numbers depending on the circumstances. Yeah, I mean, again, take that strategy and run with it. I think that there's a lot of value in having a strategy to go with, and then you just become fluid in how this goes. Let me see here. Dana, she says, Dana Harap. Sorry if I'm pronouncing. She says, "Hi, Chris. This is my first time catching your show live. Love your passion, assistance. Keep helping the industry. There's no reason why we can't." Amen to that, Dana. That's exactly it. There's nothing proprietary that any of us are doing. All right. We're all going after the same customers. We're all going after the same carriers at the end of the day. And I'm a massive fan of technology. I'm a massive proponent of technology. So yeah, there's a little bit of difference there, but there's not. At the end of the day, we're all going after the same stuff. But that's it for today, you guys. No articles, which is fine. I had a lot of fun answering all your guys' questions live here on the show. We'll be back on Monday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down more industry headlines. And as always, you guys, if you guys saw value in what you heard here today, you guys, share the show. Subscribe to it on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Coffee with the Freight Coach on iTunes and Spotify. Just the Freight Coach over on YouTube. Rank it and share it out there to the network, you guys, because if you guys see value, your network's going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.